Hi, my name is Anna Voog, and I have a webcam at anacam.com, anacam.com, and I am the luckiest person in the entire world to somehow have made it to New York and interview my complete inspiration who keeps me going like all the time. I can't put into words, so I just, oh my God. And I do music too, and here's Tori, and I get to interview her.
I'm Tori, and I've known Anna for years. So we've been really looking forward to doing this, and I'm so thrilled to see you.
And I'm thrilled to see you, and of course you're so beautiful as always. You always give me energy and stuff. But now I feel completely, this is the first time I've ever done anything like this, okay? I don't normally fly to New York and just get to interview I feel like a mod, in like 1969 that meets The Who. And I'm like, just going, ready, steady, go, yeah. Just freaking out, so it's really cool. So we're supposed to have a really normal conversation right now, but this is, I guess this is as normal as it's going to be because I live a really weird life, but this isn't normal for me, but in a way I guess it is normal.
Tell them the life you lead.
Well, it's
like when we were having tea backstage a few weeks ago, I just did a show in Minneapolis, and Anna came to see me. Actually, in the afternoon, you came to see me, and I hadn't seen you in, 1.5 years or 2 years?
Yeah, because I couldn't find you and stuff, because I had changed my name to Anna Voog. Before that, it was Rachel Olsen, which it still is, but everyone that calls me Anna now. Anna Voog. And I can't explain my life.
No, but it's fascinating, because I've been hearing about this Anna character that does all sorts of things on a cam, and I knew Rach years and years ago, when you were making your music in Minneapolis, and you would come back at the shows backstage, and we would talk and have tea. So I hadn't associated that this woman that was doing all these things in the cam that my crew was talking about was little Rach. So it was fascinating to me. I was starting going like this with my crew, going, wait, this is Rach. You can't be obsessed with Rach. And they said, we don't know what you're talking about. It's Anna. She's hot. So I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I have a cam in my house. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I just, for the last 2.5 years, I've been just documenting my life. It's not a surveillance thing, and it's not like a peeping thing. You don't come in and go, ooh, I'm peeping on her. I'm like, I've opened the doors, and, I don't show everything. I'd like to show everything, but I can't because my boyfriend doesn't like the cam and stuff like that, but I just...
But you don't do potty, right?
No, I don't go to the bathroom on cam, so I'm really sorry for those fetishes.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's good.
I don't,
It's good. No, it's good.
Maybe someday if I'm really drunk, no, I swear. No, I won't do it. It's not, I think there's enough photographs.
There's enough, I'm sure, yeah.
So I just like to show stuff, I just like to play. It's like doodling with the camera. You'll have to go there and just look. I can't even explain it, and I can't sum it up, but it's the best thing that ever happened to me. What is the most important thing that you've learned in life so far that you apply to your life? They're like, oh man, I'm glad to learn that. That's a skill that I use every day and just helped you just through life.
I think the phrase that comes to mind the most now is, my grandfather used to tell me this. He was part Cherokee, and he would say to me, you cannot separate yourself from your creations.
Yeah, I totally understand that.
It took me a while to let that become a part of my, waking kind of grandfather voice phrases, because they're always those that all of us have. But as I've, I think, worked with music long enough and made enough mistakes and done things that I've regretted doing, whatever I've done or haven't done, I can't separate myself when I do it. Even if you want to go back and make amends, it still becomes a part of your tapestry.
Yeah, seriously, absolutely interwoven,
sure.
Energy threads, and it's just there.
It's there.
Well, what have you regretted, though, doing? Because I don't think I know if I regret anything that I've done. Even if I've made some, no, there's actually just really small things that I've regretted that I'm not even going to talk about that are so small, but...
maybe revealing myself to acquaintances that feelings I had, impressions I had, fantasies maybe that I had of our relationship, even women sometimes. And then you meet them and you realize that I didn't know them and they didn't know me well enough.
Yeah, you need to wait a little while before you really reveal those beautiful, special things.
Yeah, because then you kind of hear about them through other people. For me, I've always really wanted to be a good drinking buddy. Like, there, I won't say at a pub because they don't serve good wine in a pub. And I won't say at a wine bar because I don't like the vibe of a wine bar. But just say we're hanging out at the studio in Cornwall. And we've got the crew there. We had a big party with the crew, about 35 of them, Johnny, were all there. Before we started the whole tour with Alanis, and we were in England, and her pirate ship was in the States. And we were gathering our, I guess you could say, vision on the coast of Cornwall where pirate ships used to come in.
So cool.
And we had some gorgeous wine that we had sent down. And we were on the lawn with torches, and the moon was out. It was in England, England at its best, I would say. And there are no lights anywhere except what you get from the sky. We were at Martian Studios, and Venus was in the sky, which is really, it wasn't planned that way, doing this record. It was kind of strange. And yet, I've always wanted so that the drum tech could come up to me with his bottle of Jack in his hand, or the guitar tech, and feel like we could really have a good conversation that didn't have anything to do with work. Passion about music, yes. And
no, I understand it.
You know what I mean.
Yes, I do. I totally know what you mean. And I don't remember what that was in.
About being a good drinking buddy. I think that's always been a real desire. I've always wanted people to feel like we could sit down and have a good glass of something.
I will be a drinking buddy any day.
You're a good drinking buddy.
Is there anything that you do before you go on stage to kind of ground yourself, or was it already inbred, or did you just kind of figure it out as you were on stage, sort of to channel yourself in a thing and become grounded and yet bring all the energy in, and you see it as a diagram, or what do you do with that?
Well,
it fascinates me.
There are a few things. I think, number one, it's about being a container. And you ask yourself, can I hold the space? And you don't worry about...
Okay, space meaning the whole stadium?
Can be the whole
or just
stadium.
around yourself?
No, it can be... You have to be able to contain the energy in a room. And if you're not willing, sometimes you get torn and ripped asunder. You know, that's how you develop that skill. There's sometimes I would walk out there and get heckled. And there has to be a place where you don't, as the person containing the space, you cannot have a perceived outcome of what it should be.
No, yeah, definitely, I know that.
You have to really walk out there knowing that this place, a crowd can go into a riot real quick. And you have to be able to harness the essences in the room.
God, I just want to know how to do that. Just write a little manual for me.
Well, part of it...
I don't know if you could write a manual for it. I suppose it's different for each individual person.
It is different, but I think that, first of all, you have to know that you're plugging yourself into this. Obviously, it's not a physical plug, but it's a 220 voltage. And there is a risk. You may get fried that night. And I have been fried before, and Johnny will tell you there were nights, there were times I walked out in front of, what was it, 50,000 Germans at Rock im Ring. And this was early on, after little earthquakes, and I'd played clubs for 13 years before that. And I had Germans chanting, "Schnell, you fucking cunt," or something like that.
God.
And I love the Germs. I really do. But this was not a good day for me.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't have been there because they were drinking out of gasoline, alcohol out of gasoline canisters. And I was out in early before, I don't know, the Scorpions or something like that. And I was singing Me and a Gun, which is,
That's
for
intense.
those of you who don't know that song, that's a song about a girl getting raped, and it's from her perspective in her head. And so the guys started shouting something at me, and I looked back and I said, "Look, you motherfucker, this is my fucking stage. You can fucking shoot me off it." And it was a moment where you own that stage, and you have to be willing to devour 60,000 people, or
They devour you.
or they devour you. And you must be a Wolverine, and yet then after you go there, then you can turn it into, I'll make love with 50,000 people also.
Yes.
And there was not a space to make love with 50,000 people, whereas at Pink Pop, which we played last year, 98, that was about making love to a huge crowd.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't always determine what it's going to be. But as the years have rolled on, it's been, like we talked about, working with how to anchor a show. I'll change songs like that in the middle of a show because you have to surrender to, things are changing every nanosecond.
Yes.
And the muse is working through everybody there and through me.
Yes.
And of course, we're having a relationship, and never do I walk on stage thinking or wishing to heal anybody, because then that puts us in a hierarchy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's different being a huntress and a Wolverine and kind of a bit of a Pied Piper going, you know, I'm the waitress serving the wine. And when you take that position, then it isn't this. But it is a little bit because you are the one with the wine.
Yeah, I think you can be a healer too, though, without it having to be a hierarchy.
It can be, but it's a personal choice of somebody. What I think is, for me, a perspective I usually take is, this is a place where people can have free will and have their own journey.
All the time.
And have their own journey, whatever they want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it has them running out of the
But there's nothing you do
theater.
before you go on stage to prepare yourself for this.
Sure, there are many things I do.
Like what?
One thing is that when we go to a city, say it's Chicago, I spend time outside with the people, but then I go inside, I walk the venue. And maybe it's part of my grandfather really always saying to me, you listen to the land.
Mm-hmm.
And being part indigenous American, I'm very connected to this land here.
Yes.
Whereas, you know, a lot of the Europeans that settle here haven't owned that. Really the goal was that the indigenous, the 500 nations, people say the Native Americans, the Indians call themselves the Indians to each other because they're just going to make those fucking white folks never forget how bad their sense of direction is. But anyway, the goal was that they would never rise again. That was the goal from the white Europeans. And they have not risen again. And the Germans, that was their goal. They weren't as successful as the Americans, making sure the Indians genocide. So, you know, there are thousands, a few thousand left, but there is a mythology to this land that until you can claim the blood of the land, the story of the land, then you can't access the land. But whoever you are, if you just really go, okay, own it, honor it, get it, just really understand, then I think you hear the voices of the land, because they held this land for thousands of years. So whether I play Chicago or somewhere in Alabama, I tune into the land, and not just this week, but I listen.
Because it changes every day and every minute.
Changes every day, but I'm also looking at the bloodline of the land that the city's built on. Sometimes it's a bit funny, but people give, like Johnny will say something to me before the show. That's another thing that'll happen. And I don't really tell anybody afterwards. And it's not like it's breaking national security or anything, or doing crew gossip. We do that too, of course. But before we take stage some nights, he'll say things to me. I'll look at him and say, okay, like, what do you see? What do you got? And he'll think of some kind of anecdote of a place we're in, and it might be a word play. There's so many.
God, now I'm totally curious. I want to see this, yes.
Oh, what's one that you love?
I love
There's
wordplay.
so
I love that. That's my favorite.
We've done the ice, and we've done the sports arenas.
We've done the sports arenas with ice, and the idea of somebody beneath the ice, and a woman trying to break through the ice.
It's like that Kate Bush song, in Hounds of Love.
Yes, and it's also like Nicole Kidman, when they did put her beneath the ice and To Die For.
Yeah.
And she never got out of the ice. But sometimes he'll look at me and say, we're in the ice, we're in the hockey arena, and all these guys skate over her, and she's trapped beneath the ice. And sometimes there's a real focus to the show. There's a point of view that you start with.
Yes.
And everybody's in this place. So it's not like, that doesn't really work for television, because people aren't in the same space. So you can't really work that one when you're doing telly. It's a different bag of tricks. Pretend for a minute that you're Earth. And I know, we're little creatures, all of us. And people might say hubris, but just bag the ideas for a minute and just play along. So just say you're Earth and you take on that role. There's going to be a place on the circumference of Earth where there's a person walking through a field, and the sun is there. Could be in Tuscany. The light is gorge. The olive grove is there, and there's a calmness, and it's what a lot of people say they would like to achieve.
Yes.
I don't want to just achieve that. That's one thing I want to achieve, but we're Earth now, which I think is a really exciting thing to try and contain for 10 minutes. Earth. Now, on another part of her body, there's somebody getting mutilated.
Yes.
It's all happening at the same time.
Yes.
Another part of the planet, they're having a volcano down in the Caribbean, and people are losing everything they have. Somewhere else, there's some party going on, and a boy's discovering his sexuality and realizes he likes other boys.
Yes.
Whatever. This is all going on.
Yes, I understand that totally.
So sometimes the way that I deal with a show,
connecting to the people that are still on that length, and
is to try and be Earth for a minute, a little tiny mini Earth.
Yes.
Mini Earth. And that all these things can live in a show, and it doesn't, the planet, Little Earth, doesn't blow up, but some of them are quite ferocious, and some of them are deliciously beautiful. But they all must exist for there to be Earth. And that's what fascinates me, is to try and contain all those elements in one show.
I know there must be a way to create a reality or something like that, when you could just go out and be so powerful that you would just emit like love so much that evil would just go away. You know what I mean? And I wish that that's what I could attain, is to go for a walk at night without fear, or even in the daytime without fear. And I can't do that yet. And can you do it yet?
Look, I think there's a real place where I don't have any illusions. This is not a peace and love planet right now. There are people that are working towards that, but I think that we all have to respect that there's been violence going on this planet for a long time. Women and children,
Incredible violence.
and men that haven't been on the top of the food chain have all been property, and it's been about power. Power has been the driving force of the planet, not integrity. We're coming to a place where people are questioning, okay, what is integrity? What is real power? Now, when somebody's got their boot on your neck and they're gang raping you, I don't think there's enough studying you can do. Studying, preparing.
Yes, no, there's no preparing.
Meditating.
No.
I think that what has to be addressed is that, you know, I don't have a fantasy about what this planet is right now. I'm fascinated by the planet, but there are people right now that would make a choice that isn't about integrity. And to expect that,
it's just to coexist. It's so hard to coexist in the same, even if they live in the same block as you, to just...
Yes, because this is not a place where we have agreed to be mutually respectful. This is a free will planet. People have got to get that. And people can come in and good things happen to bad people, and bad things happen to good people.
But do you believe that we create our own reality? That in a way, if bad things happen to a good person, in a way that was brought to a person for a lesson, for them to grow or something as a person?
I think there's a lot of horse shit in that, because nobody is talking directly to the divine, and we don't know. There are a lot of esoterics and shamans that have their opinion, but I think when you see some of the little girls that I have that have been gang raped, it's real hard to justify that shit and say her higher self wanted it.
Yeah,
you know
like she was born into this world knowing that would happen.
And you can't say she was Hitler. Those things I feel are really weak and naive, and try it on somebody else. I think that there's a place where there is the aching heart. We do weep many tears, because when you see that some people are close to soul death, you're so cut off from your heart that you can do that to somebody else. It doesn't justify what you've done to somebody else just because you're in pain.
Yes.
And I think that until a generation rises up, claims their pain, says, I must take the abscess, I must take the poison, I must take the wound and look at it and transmute it. And that's what the medicine women did, and that's what the medicine men did. And I do think that, you know, as the young ones are coming up and all the information is coming to the planet, a big choice is on our plate. I think this, my little humble opinion, what's coming as we cross into the early 2000s is this planet that we're on. How much can she take? I know we've got parties to go to, we've got houses to build, we've got boats to buy, we've got sewage to dump, but there's a place where we're going to be sitting there having to deal with very basic facts. And sometimes...
Well, what are the facts to you?
The facts are, when will we have hit bottom? When do we as a planet hit bottom and go, okay, we can turn this around? You know,
that happens in a way, a little bit, but just only in certain communities.
Yes, but there's this ridiculous notion that some people have, which is we won't be destroyed as a whole.
Oh, yeah, I know. That's just, we will be.
And there's a crazy kind of naiveness in that. So I do think that when you and I talk about how to walk outside, I used to feel like I could drive through South Central LA. I used to think I could do stuff. And then there's an arrogance that maybe you have when you're younger, and you realize that nobody is invincible. If you meet up with somebody that is just coming from a really violent place and you get in their way.
So are you still afraid, though, to walk at night? Or can you do it with kind of a fearlessness a little bit?
Look, I think that the great lionesses of the plains have an instinct, and I think that still there's always some small-dicked hunter out there, whether it's a man or a woman, who needs to bring that lioness down. And you don't think that no matter how ferocious she is, no matter what your instincts are, if that hunter is, I don't know, safely shrouded many feet away with a hidden gun, you cannot, any instinct you've got cannot prepare you for that. So, of course, I am cautious, but I'm a hunter for frequency, and yet I have no illusions that there aren't people that are hunting also. And some of them are hunting for women.
But you think that there's a way that you can change your vibration so that those people aren't even hunting you, so that it just almost repels them?
I'm sure Gandhi thought that too.
Yeah, I know. Or Lenin. Well, actually, Lenin was really obsessed with guns, so I don't know. But actually, I have two guns too.
I'm sure Martin Luther King thought that. There's some great people who are pretty advanced.
It's very confusing.
That couldn't get away from the hunter's gun.
I guess you just got to do what you do.
John Lennon thought that too.
Hope for the best, you know?
I'll tell you, you know, you never know who your next guru is going to be. Sometimes it's that guy sitting next to you on the bus.
Yes.
And it's hard to know where you're getting that, I don't know, just that kind of mantra that takes you through the next day.
What special powers do you wish you had that you don't have? That just, you know, like a Superman thing.
That I could be a seahorse.
No.
Oh, yeah.
What special powers do they have, besides looking totally cool?
Aren't they completely contained?
And contained in what? Water?
No, I mean, a male and female, they've got all bits.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
They can do it with themselves.
That's cool. Oh, no, wait, this is another one that's kind of heavy, but I bet you could answer it first. What do you fear the most?
That I won't have heard somebody that I really care about. I won't have heard them. And because of that, they feel like I wasn't there for them, when in actuality, I didn't hear them. And, you know, that's always a hard thing. When
you mean people around you that are close?
People that I love, yeah. That I couldn't hear them, that I couldn't show up. You know, just show up.
Yes.
I might be sitting there.
I understand. I do understand.
Not there for them.
I just don't believe that you could do that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, but you're on tour a lot, so I guess it could happen. And if you could be invisible, what would you do? And I know you wrote Happy Phantom, which is one of my favorite songs, but maybe it's changed since then. Like, if you really seriously could be invisible, what would you go around doing? Because that's a fantasy of mine.
Oh, God. I'd go and see what the government, the information that they have.
I know, that's what I would do. I'd go there and go,
things.
I knew it!
Yeah, I'm fascinated by that.
Would you, like, go through people's houses and, like, read their diaries and just see? Just watch people's conversations, kind of, like, sit on the couch and find a really good family and kind of get connected in and just go, God, this is really cool. Just listen.
No, I let you do that. You do that one. I want to go into, like, the CIA and see some of the things that they've been up to, some of the secrets.
I wonder if it would be as fascinating as we imagine.
I'm sure it would be, you know, stomach turning.
And one more thing, my boyfriend made me say, he's like, will you come over to our house and make him pancakes?
Can I bring my chef and together we'll make pancakes for you?
I think that'd be good enough for him.
Okay.